You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. This is one of those days, like right before we start the podcast, we'll see a new article, something will pop up, we'll get a notification, there's breaking news, something happens, and we change what we're going to lead with. We change the title of the podcast. For YouTube, we change the thumbnail, right? Because something's just like insane has happened. And you saw this story just as we were about the podcast. Mm-hmm. You told me this story, you read me this headline, and I said, text me that story. Hold on, let me go change the thumbnail for YouTube. Let me change the title. This is what we're going to lead with. And it's about Dianne Feinstein. And I did take a one pause before because she just passed away, Dianne Feinstein. And I'm thinking, well, should we be talking about this true story about her that's just breaking, that's really disgusting? Or should we wait? And, of course, we've opted to do it. And
of course,
it's very important. Now, let me read the headline. And then I'll go through the details of the story. And Dianne Feinstein, this is insane. This is in the Daily Mail. Here's the headline. Senator Dianne Feinstein's death leaves her daughters wrangling over a breathtaking $102 million property fortune and a $62 million private jet that she used to visit her mansions, with an S, plural. Dianne, that's crazy.
And that's not even including whatever she has in the bank. This is just mentioning her plane and her properties.
Or investments.
So she could be worth twice this.
Well, yeah. The California congresswoman who died in D.C. Friday at age 90 leaves behind a mansion. I've never seen this word before. Italianite? I guess that means Italian-style mansion.
I've never heard that either.
Italianite. Italianite man. I've never seen that word before.
Me either.
The mansion has stunning views of the San Francisco Bay, and it is valued at $21 million. Democrat Feinstein, whose vast wealth raised eyebrows, died in her D.C. mansion that she owned that's worth $7.4 million. She also owned a $5 million Hawaii duplex.
Wow.
A $7.5 million beach house in Marion County, California, and a $62 million Gulfstream G650 jet that she used to shuttle between her property empire. Feinstein's already vast coffers were further swelled by the sale of two other homes in recent years, an Aspen Ranch that she sold last year for $25 million, a Lake Tahoe compound she sold for $36 million. She's also believed to have around $70 million in cash in the bank.
There you go.
Much of her wealth,
holy mackerel,
came from her billionaire second husband, Richard Bloom, the financier and founder of investment firm Bloom Capital Partners, or Blum Capital Proper, who passed away in 2022. She has one daughter, three stepdaughters that she had with her late spouse. Her estimated worth is upwards of $160 million. It's now the subject of a tense argument between the offspring, according to the New York Post. And it goes on. Okay.
Well, what are they arguing about?
Well, let me read more of this. What the heck? Because this is getting interesting. Yeah. An ugly court battle over the cluster of mansions has already erupted after Feinstein's daughter and power of attorney Catherine sued the trust that the senator and Blum held much of their properties and bank accounts in. After Blum passed away from cancer at age 86 last year, Feinstein inherited an annual income of $1 million through his trust, which was held separately from the marital trust. Following Feinstein's death, her daughter Catherine, a San Francisco judge, is set to share the couple's estate with Blum's three daughters, Annette Blum, Heidi Blum, Riley, and Eileen.
There's the rub.
How they divide up the portfolio remains to be seen, with the couple's San Francisco home likely the point of discussion. It was a home that was built in 1917, described as a striking mansion situated on the city's iconic steps with panoramic views of the San Francisco Bay. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I don't know too much about the husband, but I do know this. Nancy Pelosi's husband is also an investor and a stock market guy.
How convenient.
And his picks outperform the top Wall Street hedge funds. So I don't know about this husband of hers, if he has that same type of system that Pelosi's husband has, but I'll tell you this. Dianne Feinstein had a Chinese spy as her chauffeur and assistant for over 20 years, and I find it hard to believe that they did not know that he was a Chinese spy, and I also find it hard to believe that this massive amount of wealth is not somehow connected to China. And the work that they obviously were doing with China.
I think her husband being an investor is kind of like Hunter Biden being an artist.
Yeah.
It's a label, and maybe her husband took a few, I could be wrong, but maybe he took a few courses so he could officially
I don't know.
Be an investor. But they do get inside track information. That's been
insider trading.
That's been talked about with Pelosi, with her. So I think there could be something like that going on. Whatever the reason, why do we have to wait till after she's dead to find out how much she's worth? I mean, I think this kind of stuff should be made public and the media should report it all the time. I don't know if it would matter to her voters. Probably not. But it matters. I think it's significant. Hey, look, I don't begrudge anybody. It's America. Make as much money as you want. But I think it's interesting that a public servant is that wealthy and doesn't necessarily make it known that they're that wealthy, because I think it does matter when your city is a mess. I'm assuming she's San Francisco, where she lives, and
Kathy,
she's living high on the hog where there's people, and she goes on the Senate floor and criticizing this and that and talking about wealth and all this, and then there's such a vast distance between the way she lives and the way her voters live.
Here's the thing. We know how Donald Trump made his money, right?
Yeah,
TV,
exactly.
real estate, all that. Everybody knows Donald Trump. And all they do is look into him legally, into his money, which we know was legitimately earned.
Right,
they got this ridiculous thing about his property values and such that's going on out of New York,
right?
And everything connected with that. And then we have these people like Joe Biden, Dianne Feinstein, Nancy Pelosi, who are worth huge amounts of in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And no one ever questions how these investment husbands make all their money.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you.
Do you think this bothers her constituents or no?
In San Francisco, no, they're liberals. They don't care. But what I'd like to see the Republicans do, the Matt Gaetz and all these people, what I'd like to see them do is do an investigation into both Pelosi and Feinstein's husbands.
Yeah.
And, he was probably in the investment business but before, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe not.
I'd like to see how his investments, how they performed after he was married to Dianne Feinstein and had all this insider track in D.C.
Well, it seems like
as opposed to before they were married and he didn't have an inside track.
It's a perfect marriage. It's a marriage made in heaven if you love money, because you have somebody who has political connections connected with somebody who has financial connections. And that seems to be a good combination these days when you're, you have somebody that has access in one area and then somebody has the means in another area. They come together and they pool their resources. And I think there's fishy things going on, but I could be wrong. Maybe everything's above board.
No, they're all crooks.
But it's funny how all these liberal politicians own beach houses.
Why?
I mean, they all have beach houses, but they're all into global warming. She's got a beach house. Sanders has a beach house. Obama has a beach. But they're all in. They think the seas are rising.
Biden has a beach house.
Biden has a beach house. They don't seem concerned.
And the Obamas have that mansion. That's not just a beach house.
Right.
That's like
a beach house is being. It's really a mansion. You're right. Not really a house.
Yeah. No. It's
that's being it's like underplaying it.
It's like a place where kings would be like, wow, this is huge. It's bigger than Downton Abbey. Now, this is something that I haven't heard anyone talk about. This is just me putting pieces together of what's going on. So this is just me. Okay, I haven't heard anybody suggest this, and I have not heard anyone talking about this. This is just me. But there's weird stuff going on inside the Democrat Party. We know that the Democrats are looking to bypass Joe Biden. We know they're not going to go to Kamala Harris, right? This has been talked about for a long time.
Right.
And every time this comes up, they say two names, Michelle Obama and Gavin Newsom. I don't think Michelle Obama's looking to work, okay?
She's not going to run.
She's
too busy frolicking with Spielberg and Tom Hanks.
She's never worked in her life.
No.
She's not going to start now, okay?
No, she's not going to do it.
But Newsom's another story. And with Dianne Feinstein's death, and they have this vacancy, and by the way, now we know why Dianne Feinstein, who's been out of it for so long, stayed in the Senate because of all this wealth that they have coming in through her connections. But Gavin Newsom now has to appoint a replacement for Dianne Feinstein. And this is a thought that popped in my head immediately, okay? Because different states have different rules, so I looked online and looked up what the process is. So Newsom's going to appoint someone. And I want to throw this out to you guys, okay? And I know this sounds crazy, but things are crazy right now in this country. Kamala Harris is she's the vice president. So for Newsom to come in, they're not just passing over the sitting president, they're passing over the sitting vice president. Now, I know Biden got passed over for Hillary. That's a whole nother thing. They didn't pass over Obama, right? They're passing over both the president and the vice president if they do it that way. So this was my thought. And it depends on how self-aware Kamala is of her situation. But Kamala Harris is in a dead-end job. She's not going to be president. She's going nowhere. And after this term, she'll forever be the first female black president. She's a minority, so she can go to all these hip-hop parties she's been doing lately and spend the rest of her...
She'll be big in the hip-hop world.
Spending the rest of her life being a paid spokesperson at different corporate events and things like this. But you see how much money Dianne Feinstein and Biden, these others, accumulate through their wealth.
They're all senators, too.
Yeah.
The senators seem to do very well.
They do, yeah.
Compared to Congress people, very well.
Well, House members, yeah. So here's what I'd like to ask you guys. Do you think this is I know it sounds like a strange scenario, but do you think this is in any way possible that Governor Newsom appoints Kamala Harris to take over Dianne Feinstein's Senate seat? Remember, Kamala was the other senator from California. She left that. Now she's here, this dead-end job. She's going to be out of work and done when this term is over. So that's a lifetime job that has unlimited wealth opportunities. Look at Joe Biden. Look at Dianne Feinstein, what we're talking about here. So Newsom picks Kamala to be the senator from California in Feinstein's seat. And you might think that's a step down, but in a way, they're putting Feinstein up on such a pedestal of all these things, about her that her Kamala taking over that seat is, kind of like a prestige seat, even though it's just like any other seat. So Newsom appoints Kamala to take over Feinstein's seat. She's back in the Senate. That leaves a vacancy for the vice presidency. Biden has to nominate a vice president, and then Biden nominates Newsom to be vice president, and then boom, he walks into the nomination for president, Governor Newsom. Do you guys think that it is at all possible? I know it seems strange and convoluted and crazy, but we're dealing with lunatics when you're talking about Newsom, Kamala, and the Democrat Party right now.
Well, I will say that does sound crazy. I think for Kamala, that would be a good move.
Yes.
Because she's got nothing after this.
Nothing.
But her thinking is Biden's going to win again. Biden is not going to nominate Newsom.
Does she really believe that?
Because, of course, Biden is not going to nominate Newsom. Why the hell would he do that? Newsom's gunning for his job. Why would he put somebody in there that wants his job and that can beat him? And that's not going to happen. I cannot imagine. But Kamala, she thinks Biden's going to get elected again.
Slow down
She'll
on that
be
before
VP
we
for another
slow down on that first part.
4 years.
That first part about Biden, before we get Biden's in a lot of trouble with this impeachment stuff.
Yeah, but he doesn't see it that way.
And Comer and his first witnesses has his brother and Hunter. And Joe Biden feels invincible, but is he so sure that his brother and his sister aren't going to go to jail?
I don't think he cares.
So Biden is facing all kinds of things because his other family members could get into a lot of trouble here, including his brother and
you said his brother
sister.
Was nasty.
Is he nasty? I can't wait for
Joe
his brother to
Biden's
testify.
nasty too.
He's very nasty and he's arrogant, like because who his brother is.
So when are these tests? When are we going to see
soon? I don't know the date, but they announced
exciting.
the witness list, and he's like first or second. That'll be good. Now, so far as Kamala, though, with this Newsom thing I'm bringing up, you guys let me know in the comments if you think this is at all possible or is it nuts. There's no doubt they're looking to pass over both Kamala and Joe. And I've been wondering, and this has been going on all year, and I've been saying, okay, how are they going to pass over the first female minority vice president? And now they have this Feinstein vacancy. And, this story about how wealthy Dianne Feinstein is. Now, I'm sure Kamala's not poor, her husband. But you don't think they see this and are like, wow, oh, my goodness. Yeah. So when you look at the money that could be made in that Senate seat and her being in a dead-end job, Kamala Harris, I don't think it's that far-fetched that scenario. I'm not saying it is going to happen.
Well, she's not a smart
far-fetched
lady.
That it could happen.
She's not a smart lady. We all know that. So she's not smart enough to take that deal.
You don't think?
No, I don't.
I think
she's stupid, and I think she thinks that she can be president.
Well, what
someday.
about her husband? Would he want her to take that deal?
I don't. I think he's busy picking out china patterns and curtains all day long. I don't think he gives a damn about what she does as long as he can have his little tea parties. But
he was at the hip hop party with her.
Yeah, I don't think. I don't know what to think about her. She's so bizarre. But I don't think Biden would appoint Newsom at all. He's too much of a threat. Everybody is talking about Newsom's waiting in the wings, like Ron DeSantis was waiting in the wings. And, Trump gave a couple good speeches this week, and he said that he got Newsom. He won Florida, and he outpaced DeSantis, which is true.
He turned Dade
County red, which is true. But DeSantis likes to take credit for all that. And we were talking, they're trying to get Youngkin to come in. I don't think Youngkin's going to do it. He's not stupid. He would be so stupid to come in. He might come in, though. What he might do, because they're done with DeSantis, they're probably not even returning his phone calls anymore. No. What he might do, Youngkin, is wait until these other people drop out, okay? Because they're clowns. And the last debate, I didn't watch it, but I saw clips, but I read a lot of articles about it, and everybody had the same consensus that it was a shit show, basically. And they looked ridiculous. And it was like a bunch of D-list celebrities just having some stupid fight that nobody cares about. So they're all, the fact that they're all debating each other when Trump's not there makes them look like has-beens and wannabes. And now DeSantis is going to debate Newsom. DeSantis is doing that because he thinks that if he can beat up Newsom, that it'll help him. They're both going in with the same thinking. If we beat this other guy up, it'll help us. But they both are stupid idiots, and nobody cares.
Well, this debate with...
But no, saying with Youngkin, I think he's going to wait. I don't know when the latest time he can jump in, but if he wants to run, he might be telling the Bushes or whatever, look, let these other people drop out because I'm not going to join up with them.
It's never too late.
Okay, so he's probably telling them, I'm not going to join up with these clowns. Let them fall away until there's nobody left. And then let's do some polls and let's gauge. Well, I don't think he's totally closed to the idea.
This debate with Newsom and DeSantis, they just set up the details of it's going to be in right after Thanksgiving.
So stupid.
But they first started talking about this like a year ago before DeSantis self-destructed. And now he's like a washed up has-been. He was on Bill Maher, and Bill Maher said, to DeSantis, he says, if your campaign was going well, you wouldn't be here with me. And
what does that mean?
Like he's desperate, so he's going on Bill Maher to try to get,
So why is Newsom even giving him the time of day? What is he getting out of it?
It's a national time on Fox News, a new audience that wouldn't normally hear anything.
They're both a couple of desperate has-beens.
Most people that are politicians at that level are sociopaths. I mean, if you think you are the one person to solve the problems of America and the world, unless your name's Donald Trump, you're probably a sociopath.
That's how most politicians are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the thing with Ron DeSantis, though, and his wife, the reason he's running is because they want to be rich like Feinstein. Okay? They're not running for any good reason like President Trump. Now, I want to say, if you would like to advertise on the podcast or my YouTube channel, or the radio show, get in touch with me. But if you want to advertise on my YouTube channel or podcast, you can email me by going to my website, briancraigshow.com. Go to briancraigshow.com, email us. Kathy checks those emails. And when you email us, let us know what it is you would like to advertise, what type of business, what type of product. If you have a link, send the link. And if you have a phone number, like a cell phone number or something that I can call and text you at as opposed to just emailing, leave that as well. It's briancraigshow.com is my website, and you can email us there. Now,
and Brian has almost 70,000 followers on YouTube.
Yeah, that's true.
And lots of views. So if you have something especially, any product we can look at, but it's something especially that you think would fit the audience, or you want us to do a product review or something, contact us, because Brian gets a lot of exposure, and we have a lot of people that promote with that advertise with us that do very well. So I think it's something definitely worth looking into. If you have an item or something that you think our audience would really respond to,
or
definitely
business,
contact
anything.
us, or
Yeah.
business or anything.
A product.
Contact us, and we'll tell you. We don't just take from anybody. We will tell you if it's a good fit or not. You know what I mean? Because if it's not a good fit, then that doesn't benefit anybody. And we will tell you if we feel it's really a good fit for the audience.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So go to briancraigshow.com and you can email us there. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there is a lot more to talk about. We've just scratched the surface. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
Are you craving the exotic flavors of Jamaican fusion food? Look no further than The Exotic Chef, based in Washington, D.C. The Exotic Chef brings you a mouth-watering experience like no other. Picture this: The Exotic Chef's viral sensation, the oxtail sandwich. It's bursting with flavors that'll make your taste buds dance. But that's not all. The Exotic Chef just launched their cold-pressed juices that are available for order through their mobile app. The Exotic Chef app is available in the Google Play and Apple App Store. Discover a new age take on Jamaican cuisine, crafted with passion and love. You can order for delivery from the Exotic Chef app. Don't miss out on this culinary adventure. You can also visit them online at the-exotic-chef.com. Follow the Exotic Chef on Instagram at the_exotic_chef. The Exotic Chef, where flavors come alive. Download the app in the Google Play and Apple App Store. Satisfy your cravings today with the Exotic Chef. Have you ever felt the urge to investigate the world's most puzzling mysteries? On the Deceptive Reality Podcast, they do just that. With hosts Bert and Nick, the Deceptive Reality Podcast work to decipher enigmas that challenge our very perception of reality. They take a deep look at unsolved cases, baffling phenomena, and more. The Deceptive Reality Podcast is more than just about the mystery. It's about the story, the people, and the beliefs surrounding it. They explore every angle, from ancient riddles to today's perplexities. Bert and Nick offer insights for both believers and skeptics. It's like detective work for the curious soul. Add Deceptive Reality to your podcast playlist and share the podcast on all your social media so your friends can tune in too. Amateur sleuths, ardent skeptics, or just lovers of a great story. Decide for yourself when you listen to Deceptive Reality. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and DeceptiveRealityPodcast.com. Join the quest where reality is stranger than fiction. Parents, grandparents, and teachers. From author Monica J. Park comes a must-read self-confidence book to help girls eliminate self-doubt and become fearless of failure. The ultimate confidence book for girls. Available on Amazon. Written with care, this book is a beacon of empowerment for all young girls. Filled with thorough exercises and stories that are relatable and transformative. It will give girls a surge in self-esteem and self-worth. It's a celebration of uniqueness and individuality. It'll also share with readers the crucial knowledge of setting healthy boundaries. It helps girls on a journey towards empowerment, teaching essential life skills and inspiring a radiant, positive outlook on life. It's filled with easy-to-follow exercises that not only promote self-resilience and positive reinforcement, but also equips girls to face life's challenges fearlessly while embracing their unique qualities. Whether for school, friendships, or chasing after passions, the ultimate confidence book for girls is the perfect gift for young girls, supporting them to tread confidently in every aspect of life. Order your copy right now on Amazon and let the journey of confidence, self-love, and empowerment begin for the young girl in your life. The ultimate confidence book for girls, from author Monica J. Park, on Amazon.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Okay, remember the other day, Trump went into the gun store and talked about buying a gun, which he didn't buy, the gun that had his name on it, Trump 45 on the side of it, and his picture on the handle. Well, listen to this. Jack Smith has gotten involved. Special counsel Jack Smith said Donald Trump was caught potentially violating his terms of release, citing a video in which a Trump surrogate claimed he purchased a firearm. 2 weeks ago, Smith's team filed a motion for a limited gag order, but late Friday, a new motion in support of that proposed order responded to opposition from Trump attorneys and cited more recent events to underscore the urgency, including his now infamous remarks about General Milley and his attacks on the judge and others. In that same filing to the federal district judge, this is the judge in D.C., the one that was a partner at Hunter's law firm, Jack Smith raised the possibility that President Trump could have his release pending trial status revoked, which means put him in jail, over his apparent attempt to purchase a firearm. Smith wrote this to the court.
Oh, please.
The defendant should not be permitted to obtain the benefits of his incendiary public statements and then avoid accountability by having others whose messages he knows will receive less attention than his own feign retraction. Then in a footnote to that complaint, Smith pointed out a potential violation. The defendant recently was caught potentially violating his conditions of release. Now, remember I told you guys that when we talked about this on when that happened, that President Trump was holding the gun in the gun store and took pictures with it. And I said, I would not be surprised if Jack Smith comes after him on some weapons charge violation because he's technically like out on bail on federal charges.
Yeah, but what's the violation? Just holding the gun?
They're saying that
he didn't buy it.
Possessing could be a violation, and what Jack Smith is saying that he may have attempted to purchase it because if you remember, the story was first that he bought it, then
just because it's reported, that doesn't mean. I mean, we know the news lies about everything. They could have reported that to jam him up.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just telling you, this deranged Jack Smith. Okay, so this is what Jack Smith submitted to the court, the D.C. Kangaroo Court. The defendant recently was caught potentially violating his conditions of release and tried to walk that back in a similar fashion. On September 25th, the defendant's campaign spokesperson posted a video of the defendant. The defendant is the greatest president ever, by the way, Donald Trump, in the Palmetto State Armory, a federal firearms licensee in Summerville, South Carolina. The video posted by the spokesman showed the defendant holding a Glock pistol with the defendant's likeness etched into it. The defendant stated, "I've got to buy one," and posed for pictures with the owners. The defendant's spokesperson captured the video tweet with the representation that the defendant, that's Trump, had purchased the pistol, exclaiming, "President Trump purchases a Glock in South Carolina." The spokesman deleted the post, retracted his statement, saying the defendant did not purchase or take possession of a firearm, a claim directly contradicted by the video showing the defendant possessing the pistol. See, remember I told you that on the show. And he used Fox News as a point of reference for evidence of the video, Jack Smith.
So just holding a gun in a gun shop is counted as possession?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
According to Fox News reports, this is Jack Smith and what he submitted to the court. Fox News, look at this. Jack Smith is citing Fox News. Fox News, Trump campaign walks back claim former president purchased Glock amid questions about legality. Jack Smith includes a Fox News website link to the story.
Wow.
Despite his spokesperson's retraction, the defendant then reposted a video of the incident posted by one of his followers with the caption, "My President Trump just bought a golden Glock before his rally in South Carolina after being arrested 4 times in a year." the defendant either purchased a gun in violation of the law and his conditions of release, or seeks to benefit from his supporters' mistaken belief that he did so. It would be a federal crime and thus a violation of the defendant's conditions of release for him to purchase a gun while this felony indictment is pending. Okay, that's the statement. And then back to the story, multiple Trump surrogates confirmed that he did purchase the weapon, then later deleted or otherwise memory hold those confirmations. Memory hold, I'm not sure what that means. Okay, so...
But the place wouldn't be allowed to sell it to him. Wouldn't they be in violation if they sold? I mean, everybody knows he's been indicted, arrested, mugshot, everything. Wouldn't they be in violation? Why would they even sell him the gun?
Well, for them to sell him the gun,
that would be crazy.
That they would. I don't think he bought the gun.
No, I don't either.
But for them to sell him the gun, President Trump may have a special gun license from New York, or even it would not surprise me. He's been high profile long before he was president. And high-profile guys like that in New York, like Sean Hannity, have special gun permits. So he may have a gun permit that's recognized in other states, and he could purchase a gun without the thing. But I think what happened is I think he saw it. He thought it was cool because it has his picture on the grip, and it says Trump 45 on the barrel. And I think immediately it either crossed his mind or somebody in his party and says, no, you can't do it because of this, and it didn't happen. And these people tweeted. Yeah. The spokesperson tweeted it, and that became the reality. Right. And
because journalists don't investigate anything, they just report off.
That's right. And other people tweeted it, like it happened.
So that's news.
That didn't witness anything. They just wanted to act like they were in the know and in the circle. And regardless of that, Donald Trump is not some gangbanger crossing the border illegally with the cartels or a bank robber or something. He was president of the United States. He's already basically has the nomination for the Republican Party. He will be president again. And this goes back to these Washington insiders like Jack Smith. They don't acknowledge that he was even ever president.
Right.
They don't give him that respect. In their mind, he does not have the title of president. He was never president. He should have never gotten it, and he doesn't deserve the title or the respect. Right. And that's not so much about Donald Trump. That's about the American people. See, they don't like that the American people chose a guy that was not handpicked. All these other presidents, all of them, including Obama, all of them have been groomed from young ages to be presidents of the United States. He came from the outside and boom, got in, and he was too rich to be bought, like, these others we talk about all the time, and they couldn't control him.
Yeah.
And there was a fantastic interview.
The presidents are more like appointed.
Almost, because they're picked by the parties, and the party picks the nominees. So we're a choice on election day. It's
an illusion that we choose.
We are put in a position on election day to vote for the person that the party through the primary process picked, and Trump beat that. And they
beat the system.
Yeah, he beat the system. Now, there's a great interview that Tucker Carlson did this week of Bill O'Reilly, and I'll tell you, I almost didn't watch that interview because I like Bill O'Reilly. I got nothing against O'Reilly, but I've seen O'Reilly talk so much. I thought, well, what's going to be said that's not been heard or said before? I wasn't expecting it to be that interesting. You guys got to watch that interview. It's about 46 minutes long. I watched the entire thing. I didn't fast forward through it, and it was fascinating, and he brought a lot of things up. But Tucker was talking to Bill O'Reilly about Trump, and Tucker asked Bill O'Reilly, why do they treat President Trump this way? What do they really have against him? And Bill O'Reilly brought up something that you bring up all the time, Kathy. He says these Washington insiders, all they care about are the cocktail parties and who they went to dinner with.
That's right. That's what that other guy said, that the guy you watch all the time, the Scott guy.
I'm not sure who.
You were watching him on YouTube, the guy with the glasses, and you said this guy's brilliant.
Dr. Steve. Dr. Steve. Yeah. Turley. Steve Turley.
No, I can't remember his name. He used to be on
Fox
all the time.
Yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about.
He's the one
and
who said the exact same
my
thing
mind just went
about
blank.
the cocktail parties.
Yeah, and Bill O'Reilly said Washington is all about who you hobnob with at the cocktail parties.
That's right.
And people like to brag that the night before they had dinner with so and so, Senator so and so, the chairman of such and such committee.
Yeah, that's what this one guy said. It's all about the invitations.
And he said the reason they hate Trump is it's not so much because he's an outsider. He doesn't give them the respect that they feel they deserve.
That's right.
And these people in Washington think they're another class of person than we are. They're the elite, the ruling elite, and we're just a bunch of idiots.
He's distasteful to them, and in their mind, he brings them down. He brings that whole political world down to a degraded level. That's how they see it, not me. And they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed. Like he gave a speech the other night and said mother effer.
In the California
and the
speech.
audience went nuts because he talks like a regular person, and he speaks his mind, and he's not polished. And they look at that and they're like appalled that he represents.
Oh yeah,
politics and politicians. That's why they want to distance themselves from him. Because they think he's crass,
Bill
and
Bill O'Reilly,
like, beneath them. And they think we're all beneath them too. By the way,
Bill O'Reilly's in the know, so I respect what he says, but I think that a lot of that may be true, but I think it's also they're just jealous of him, of the support he has of the American people that none of them ever had, and they're really jealous of that. That's what really.
I agree with you on that.
And they can't control him. They can't control him. They can't buy him off. They can't blackmail him. And the American people love this guy.
Nothing they have done has slowed him down or slowed down his support. In fact, it's ramped it up.
Yeah.
And they scratch their heads. Literally, will go on TV. I don't understand. Why is he not declining in the polls? Why do they don't get it? And I think they sit up at night, many nights, pondering this and wondering, how does his support not wane? How is he still popular? Why don't the people see what we see? Well, the problem is they don't see what we see. They don't see it from our point of view. We don't live in that Dianne Feinstein bubble of wealth. We actually grocery shop and see the real problems that we're facing and living and dealing with inflation, crime, the border problem. That stuff doesn't touch these people. It doesn't affect them at all. So they don't understand. They have lost touch with reality long time ago. Yeah. And they have lost touch with what it's really like to live in the world because they don't live in the real world. They live in their little protected bubble. We live in the real world. We're dealing with real life problems. And Donald Trump, no matter how rich he is, he gets it. And he understands, I know what you're dealing with. This is BS. The borders, he's the only one acknowledging this stuff. You got the liberals, when they talk about the border, all they do is blame Republicans now. It's somehow the Republicans' fault.
That's right.
And the Republicans blame the Democrats. Trump is the only one who looks and says, you're right, it's a problem. It's messed up. He's the only one who actually acknowledges us and our problems and wants to deal with it. And that's why he's so popular, because these other yahoos, they don't deal with the problem. They just make the problems.
Yeah,
they're just making problems for us.
Now,
he actually wants to solve them.
Now, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters. And if you would like to support the show by becoming a patron, there's a link in the episode description. And there are perks and benefits that are exclusive to patrons of the program. And they're all spelled out when you click that link. And one of those is for our top Patreon supporters. Our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on each and every podcast episode. So the names I'm going to read off now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Rome, Wisconsin, Mike P, Richard, David, Heather, ActicFox, John, Paulette, Carlos, Maria in Texas, and Melissa. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all for your support. It's greatly appreciated. You know, our daughter was visiting us the last week. That's why we weren't here as much this last week as we normally are, because we're spending time with our daughter, and She was here for the week, but she wasn't here long enough to adjust to East Coast time. She's still kind of on West Coast time. Yeah. So my sleep habits were, because when I wake up early in the morning, she's still up, because I wake up, as I say, like 2:30 in the morning. She's still up.
Your schedule gets off when Emily's here.
Yeah, it does.
Sure.
It does.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of time with her. But I took her to the airport today, and I was telling her, I said, I saw a story yesterday in the news that they're trying to get Governor Newsom to temporarily lift the gasoline tax in California because gas has gotten over $7 a gallon. And she said her car was parked at the airport. She left her car at the airport. And she usually, most of the time, if she's going to be there for a long time, she takes like Uber or Lyft to the airport and back from her house, and because parking at the airport is so expensive. But gas prices have gone up so much.
It's double there.
Yeah,
it is here, double.
Ride sharing, Uber and Lyft prices have gone up, and it's actually cheaper for her to park at the airport for a week, which is very expensive, than to take Uber or Lyft to and from, and because gas prices, and gas is over $7 a gallon. And she told me, maybe this is true everywhere, but we don't have crazy gas prices here in Florida like they have in California. I paid $3.59 a gallon when I filled up a couple days ago, which is still too high. I paid $1.57 a gallon on President Trump's last day of his first term. I'll never forget that. Right before I went to Mar-a-Lago, I filled up, and I took note of the gas price, and I'm going to remember this, $1.57 a gallon. And
you made a mental note.
I did, and look where it's at. But it's over $7 a gallon, and she told me, and like I said, this may be true everywhere, but since gas prices are so high in California, it may become more obvious. She said gas prices are higher on the weekends in Los Angeles than they are the other days of the week, which maybe that's true everywhere. I've never paid that close attention, but she does because prices are so high. So she said what she's going to do when she says, when I leave the airport, she says, I need gas. She says, I'm going to buy 1 gallon. And she said the gas prices go down on Mondays. And then she said, then I'll fill up on Monday.
It costs her. Now she drives.
It's like the road warrior out there with
Kia Forte.
The gas.
She doesn't drive a fancy car. It's just a regular sedan. It's a nice car. It costs her $70 to fill up her car.
Yeah.
And I took her to get gas the other day. I have a Mini Cooper, and it cost me under $40. And she couldn't believe it was like $35 to fill up my car, because it's like you said, about $3.50, and I have a 10-gallon tank.
Yeah.
And she was just like, I'm so jealous your gas is.
Exactly.
I said, this is why, and she's actually talking about getting an electric vehicle now. And
that's why they have gas so
high. I said, that's why they jack up the prices, so you'll start doing that kind of thing. And she said, well, gas is so expensive, Mom. She said, where I live, it's like the better solution because I'm paying so much. And she spends $300 a month on gasoline. I'm like, well, you want an EV? That's fine. You can buy it yourself, because we bought her this car. That's it. But, that's why they jack up those prices. And, in California, she did tell me, though, that everything else is relatively the same or cheaper. It's just the gas she's noticed. Like food and stuff is pretty comparable. And she said sometimes it's even less. She goes to a lot of like farmers markets, and there's a lot of specialty shops. She's really into eating healthy now, Emily. She's really goes to the gym, and she's really fit. And which is great. And but she said the gas is the main issue. And she said, everything in LA is a drive. It's not, or there's a lot of traffic. It's not as close as where we live, where, the store is 5 minutes away. But, plus she's new there. She's only been living there a few months, like almost a year. But there's a lot of things she wants to see and experience. So she has to drive places and do that. And I don't know how the public transportation is in LA. I'm assuming it's kind of a lot like South Florida, because most people probably have cars.
Kathy, there's so many dangerous homeless people. We do not want her to take public transportation.
No, we don't. No, I know. I'm just wondering. No, we don't want her to do that, obviously. But I'm just wondering in general. Yeah. It's such a huge place. But anyway, then she was telling me in the car how much better California is than Florida as far as weather, and I'm like, okay, I'm sure Florida's hot. Whatever. Because anytime you come to South Florida, if you live anywhere else in the country and you come here, you immediately feel the difference because the humidity is so bad, especially this time of year. Like it feels like a heavy, wet blanket over your body. It gets better in October, but July through October, it's pretty bad. June through October. And she's just complained about that the whole time. She's like, it's so humid. And I'm like, well, that's the way. I mean, you lived here your whole life. I mean.
Now, speaking of Florida, I got a message from someone on YouTube today, and they said that I keep referencing that there's a lot of problems in Florida that DeSantis isn't talking about.
Yeah.
And that I should go over some of them. And the reason I haven't, there's a lot of problems in Florida, but I don't think people outside of Florida would really care. I think, DeSantis is done. If DeSantis was like a legitimate threat to get the nomination, I think it would be more interesting. But I'll tell you what a couple of them are real quick, okay? And you've heard me reference them. One is homeowners insurance rates have gone up astronomically. I mean, they because of the hurricane. We had a bad hurricane last year. And a bunch of the insurance companies left the state of Florida. We only have a couple insurance companies in Florida that you can buy insurance from for your homeowner's policy. And if you have a home that is mortgaged, you have to have homeowner's insurance. It's required as a condition of the loan. And if you have your home paid for and you don't have to have homeowner's insurance, but if the hurricane hits, you got to pay for a new roof or whatever, it could get expensive. But homeowner's insurance has gone up to astronomical levels. It is expensive. And ours has gone up a lot. So that's a big problem. And a lot of people are struggling with homeowners insurance.
It's the biggest problem. In fact, I heard on the local news, problem. They're talking about, this won't be fun, a hurricane tax.
Yeah.
They're starting to talk about putting a hurricane tax and not just on homeowners, but on renters too.
And in Florida, so far as hurricanes, I know people think we all get hit by hurricanes all the time. We had a bad one last year.
Yeah, it was bad.
We don't get hurricanes as much and as bad as you think, but
they do cost a lot of money.
But they do cause problems.
They do cost a lot of money.
In our part of Florida, we live in South Florida. We get a hurricane every 10 to 12 years. That's a significant hurricane. But we've been through, since we've lived in this house 19 years, it'll be 20 years in March. And we've been through, I don't know how many hurricanes, and we haven't had much. So that's one problem, is the property insurance of DeSantis. See, what DeSantis is doing is he's traveling around campaigning about all the greatness he did for Florida. That stuff he's talking about like 3 years ago, and a lot's changed. And this thing about the hurricane tax, one of the great things about Florida is we do not have a state income tax. Right. And a hurricane tax is, in effect, a state income tax, which is one of the great things about Florida is we have no state income tax. Another problem.
Yeah, that would be a big mistake.
Another problem with Florida, is that rent. Now, luckily, we are homeowners and have lived in this house almost 20 years, so that's a good thing. But people who are renters, rents not only have gone up so high that people can't afford them, but people that have lived and have rented a home or an apartment for years, all of a sudden they've gotten their rent doubled, sometimes tripled. And there's a big homeless crisis with people that are professionals and that have good jobs that are living in like their expeditions and stuff with their kids throughout the state of Florida.
It's creating a homeless crisis. I want to say about
a homeless crisis of people that aren't like Skid Row drug addicts and bums.
No, people that work.
That have really good, that work in offices and are college educated.
They call it the working homeless.
So
it's on the news all the time here.
So that's another problem in Florida. And DeSantis is doing nothing about any. There's some other problems too that are pretty big, but I'm not going to.
The insurance is the real issue.
The insurance and the rents.
And here's how I feel with the hurricanes. Most of the properties that are damaged by hurricanes are these really wealthy people that live right on the ocean, like that, last year they had that hurricane that devastated Sanibel Island. Sanibel Island is beautiful, It's a little island just off the coast. Very expensive. I've been there. Brian's been there. It's a resort place, and it's, people go there on vacation. It's very nice. But to live there or have a business there is very expensive, So all these properties that get damaged are homes that are and businesses that are built in places where they probably shouldn't be building homes and businesses. It's a trade-off because they have the beautiful location, they pay for it, but because they've developed there where these hurricanes come all the time, they're right in the path, they get damaged, and now we got to pay the bill, and we got to pay for this. And if you go down to Miami, other than Hurricane Andrew, really gets pretty unscathed with hurricanes. That was kind of a fluke. Miami doesn't get hit that often. But for all these, if you go down Fort Lauderdale Beach or Miami Beach, it is just one condo after another. There, you can't even see the ocean anymore. If you drive down A1A, when I was a kid, you could drive down A1A and you could see the beach. Now it's just one building, one huge high rise after another. Boom, boom, boom.
See,
And like I said, so all these places that get flooded, that get damaged, they're usually all right on the coast. They're not inland where most people live. So because these big companies or these restaurants or these people want to have a home right like the Obamas, right on the ocean, then we got to pay the bill.
Yeah. And
just don't build on those areas.
DeSantis, as opposed to running around in South Carolina, New Hampshire, and Iowa all year, DeSantis could get together with the insurance companies and fix this problem. And
he won't because he's pissed.
But he won't. And DeSantis hates the Florida people now because we're MAGA and with Trump. He hates us.
Yep.
And like I said, there's other problems, but they're Florida problems. If he were if say Trump wasn't in the race and DeSantis was the front runner, all these issues and many more would be right at the top of the list. I give you one other one, okay?
He's done with us, Brian. He's done with us.
I give you one other one. Lake Okeechobee, which is, if you see a map of Florida, it's that big kind of almost round lake that you see a little bit south of the middle of the state. Lake Okeechobee.
You can't miss it. It's a huge body of water.
Yeah, Lake Okeechobee is filled with this poisonous algae right now, and it's pretty crazy. It's poisonous not just to creatures in the water, but it's poisonous to breathe what comes out of it. And what's causing it, no one really has given a clear answer, but Ron DeSantis has done nothing about this algae problem, and that lake is a big source of the water supply for a huge part of the state of Florida. Mm-hmm. And some idiots that run the lake Okeechobee has a series of locks around it. It has a big dike that surrounds the entire lake that's about 35 to 40 feet high.
The lake's huge.
Yeah, and the reason it has a big dike around it is in the 1920s, a hurricane came through Lake Okeechobee, and there was no dike around it then, and took the water, and it killed a lot of people. But anyway, so around the dike, there's a system of locks that block off the canals and the intercoastal waterways from the lake. Some idiots opened up the locks and allowed this deadly, poisonous algae out of Lake Okeechobee into the canals of all the communities of South Florida.
Yeah.
So people have this deadly algae in their backyard if they're on the water, and gases come out of it that are deadly as well.
It's killing the manatees,
and
which are already in danger. It's a real problem,
and it could kill people. It's not healthy. And Ron DeSantis is doing nothing about it. Like, you may have seen a lot of stories about alligators attacking people, lately. I've lived in Florida almost my entire life. I've been close to gators. I've been as close to alligators in the wild as I am to Kathy right now. I've never had a problem with a gator. I've had a couple close calls. I've never known anyone personally to be attacked. There's an increase in attacks on people by alligators. And this is what I think is going on. Typically what happens is people that get attacked by gators are, you may have heard me talk about this, but there's something new, and it connects to DeSantis. Most people that in the past have gotten attacked or killed by alligators, what's happened is they're walking their dogs near areas where there are gators. Gators will leave you alone, okay? But the dogs will go after the gators. They start barking, they start yelping, they disturb the gator grabs the dog. and the owner has them on the leash, tries to save the dog, and then the gator gets their arm. And what the alligators do is pull you in the water.
That happened to that old lady a couple months ago.
What the alligators do is pull you into the water, drown you, and then they put you under something into the water to tenderize your body. Okay, well, there's been an increase in attacks on people by alligators. I think it's because of this algae. This algae that we're talking about is in the water where the gators live, and I think because of the algae, the gators are coming out of the swamps,
going on land more,
and migrating to areas where there's people away from this. So
maybe
there's an increase in gator attacks, and I think that's why. So there's a lot of problems that are very serious problems that are unique to Florida, problems like these ones I just shared with you. Ron DeSantis doesn't give a shit, and he doesn't do anything about it. He doesn't care. I don't even know if he knows about these problems.
He has really abandoned the state.
He's abandoned Florida.
Like I said, he used to be on TV every day
doing something
for the state.
3 years ago.
As soon as he ran,
that was it.
You never see him doing anything anymore.
Yeah, so people are going broke, homeless, and getting eaten by gators because of Ron DeSantis is in action. And I know that sounds nuts, but that's really what's going on in Florida. And I get so pissed at him when I see him on TV talking about what a great governor he was, but he hasn't been a great governor, or he hasn't even been a mediocre governor for a long time. And there's other problems too that I'm not going to, but those are some of the big ones that really hurt people, and affect our lives. We're going to take our last break. When we get back, there is a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
Brian Craig here, telling you about our 5th annual listener cruise. And you're all invited, except Liberal Al. Liberal Al, you're not invited. But the rest of you are. We leave April 27th on board the Celebrity Beyond, the flagship of celebrity cruises. We're going to the ABC Islands, Curacao, Bonaire, and Aruba. We have shore excursions at every port, and I'll be on them all with you. We'll have dinner together every night, private cocktail parties, we'll go to Broadway shows together, and dance till the clubs close every night. Call Ian at Cruise and Travel Depot and book your reservation. 561-244-5779. 561-244-5779.
Hey, good morning, Brian. It's Lisa, and my husband and I received our My Pillow 2.0 that we ordered with Kane the other day, the buy one, get one free, and they're our first My Pillows, and we love them. We absolutely love them. They're just absolutely marvelous. Yeah, I'm so glad. I got slippers on the way, too.
Go to MyPillow.com and use our promo code KANE at checkout, KANE, and buy your My Pillow 2.0. Right now, buy one, get one free. You can also order by phone, toll free, 800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879. Promo code KANE. Coffee lovers, have you been on a quest for the ultimate coffee experience? Imagining that perfect cup? Your search is over, thanks to Bean Crazy Coffee. With Bean Crazy Coffee, every sip will feel like a crafted journey. Bean Crazy Coffee have a wide range of handcrafted flavors. You'll journey through organic, low-acid brews and indulge in the Heavenly Gordon's Caramel Roll, a tribute steeped in sentiment, dedicated to the owner of Bean Crazy Coffee's father. What sets them apart is that Bean Crazy Coffee isn't just a brand, it's an experience. As a boutique roastery, they pride themselves on their artisanal small batch magic, the art of slow roasting. The process takes the organic bean and turns it into the silkiest, least acidic, most tantalizing coffee you've ever tasted. And for you decaf lovers, their decaf is full of flavor and it's all natural. Are you ready for a brew that's been passionately crafted for true coffee connoisseurs? This is the coffee you've always dreamed of. Visit beancrazy.com and elevate your coffee moments. Order your cup of perfection today. beancrazy.com.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so this government shutdown thing's going on all weekend, and it really is so absurd that they're in a panic over a government shutdown. It's the weekend. The government's always shut down on the weekend, right? But there's a big panic going on that's risen to the level that Kevin McCarthy is going up against, the top, the Matt Gaetz and the Marjorie Taylor Greens, trying to make a deal with some Democrats to keep the government open. So, why are they so panicked about the government shutting down? I'll tell you why, okay? At the beginning of the show, we were talking about Dianne Feinstein's great wealth and how her husband and how Pelosi's husband makes all his stock picks and everything else. When the government is shut down, it does not affect any of our lives. The military gets paid. If you have Social Security, the checks still come. Your everything that the average American would do, you would not notice any change. However, the donors, the money that goes to the donors, that oftentimes stops during a government shutdown. So the reason they panic—
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, it depends on what it is. The reason they panic is because all of these people that are in Congress, almost every one of them, are bribed by the donors. And if the government's not open, they haven't fulfilled their promise, and these people get pissed. But in particular, this government shutdown, I've been listening to these people the last few days talk about, the Head Start program won't get funded and this won't get funded. The whole thing is simply, the whole debate, it should be more than about this one thing, but it's important. The whole holdup about shutting down the government has to do with the money going to Ukraine. And, Ukraine, and that's why they're in such a panic, because the military-industrial complex, those are the big donors, the super big donors, have so much control over Kevin McCarthy and all these Washington people. And those military-industrial contractors, donors, expect to get paid. And stopping the Ukraine funding, it's not going to happen. They're going to continue to fund Ukraine until Trump's back. It's not going to stop until Trump's back.
Right.
They're always going to— the military-industrial complex has more control over this government than any of us want to admit, And so anyone who thinks that the Ukraine funding is going to be stopped right now, no, it's not. Even if they tell you it has been cut, it has not been cut. It's going to continue, and it's going to continue, and it's going to continue, because Kevin McCarthy and all these others have made a deal to do it. And I got to tell you this. If you have a son or daughter who's considering joining the service, talk them out of it. If they insist, try to get them to join the Coast Guard at the very least. I would not let my son or daughter— if our daughter was thinking about joining the service, I would mortgage our house and buy her a house or a condo if I could bribe her into not doing it.
Well, your dad talked you out of joining the military, and he was in Vietnam.
When I was a senior in high school, I came very close to enlisting. I even took the physical, and my dad's a combat veteran from Vietnam, and some pretty rough stuff over there. And he talked me out of it, and I was shocked that my dad talked me out of
what did he say?
Enlisting. It's been a long time, because I was 7 to 18 years old. I was a senior in high school. But he said, I said, there's no war going on or anything. He says, you never know. There can always be.
There's always a war.
There's always the possibility of a war. And
your dad volunteered. He wasn't drafted.
No, he wasn't drafted.
Your dad volunteered to go.
Yeah, he volunteered for.
And your grandfather was in World War II.
Yeah, he was not drafted. He volunteered to go to Vietnam. And then he told me some stories of some things that happened with him in Vietnam that I did not know, and things like that. And I was shocked when my dad talked me out of it. But looking back, because I was a kid then, I think a lot of it probably had to do with this realization that almost every single war this country has been in, almost every single one, has been because the rich and powerful have wanted it. Yep. And they push us into these things.
The Vietnam War was a completely, like the Iraq War, totally unnecessary war.
The military-industrial complex.
BS, and it was just a way for people to make money and enrich themselves. And I don't know how these people sleep at night.
They're all burning in hell, Kathy.
I mean, all those people they are sacrificing livies so they can make money.
That's right.
It's criminal.
Well,
it's like a serial killer.
And in Vietnam in particular, Vietnam was never fought in a way where we could win the war. It was fought in a way to keep the war going and prolong it without having any resolution. And the reason is, it's like, look, when 9/11 happened and the war on terror began, I remember Bush and Cheney said this is going to be a multi-year war that will probably last about a dozen years. And I know that went in one ear and out the other at the time because we had 9/11. Who would have thought after 9/11 that war would have continued for 20 years?
And they went to war with a country that had nothing to do with 9/11. Everybody was
talking about Iraq, yeah.
Everybody was kind of scratching their heads like, wait a minute. The hijackers were from Afghanistan and other countries. But no, they weren't from Iraq.
That's right.
So but he was able to,
and they never found WMDs.
Right, that was a lie. He was able to quote unquote convince. But let me tell you, most of the senators and politicians voted for it. Obama did not. I know that. I was never for the war. A bunch of them voted for it. It passed.
Trump was not for the war.
Hillary Clinton voted for it. A lot of them voted for it. And they used this WMDs as an excuse. They all knew it was bullshit, and they did it anyway. And I don't know how these people rationalize things. You got Dick Cheney telling you what a danger Trump is. Meanwhile, this guy's a war criminal. Thousands of men have died and women have been died.
Maybe more.
Killed, maimed because of this fake war that he pushed. But he's telling us that Trump is dangerous. These are sick people.
And So we had this 20-year war in Afghanistan. It finally ends, and then like 5 minutes later, they start up another one in Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it's
never ending.
If you watch the last episode of MASH, which took place during the Korean War, of course, they're at the end of MASH, because the war's over and they're in surgery, and they have the radio on, and the guy on the radio is talking about the war in Vietnam, and then the surge. I can't remember who said it, if it was Hawkeye or who said it, but one of them says, "What's Vietnam? What's Vietnam?" They didn't. One war was ending Korea, and they already started the Vietnam War.
Right.
This is what is going on, and so this Ukraine funding that all this talk is about, we're going to lose that. It's going to get funded. They'll find a way to do it because the donors have too much juice. Listen, Dianne Feinstein is not worth over $100 million when she died. Because these people stand up to the donors. They're rich because of the donors.
Exactly. They're all bought and paid for.
That's right. Now,
it's really sickening.
I want to tell people about the Thomas Edison of sleep, Mike Lindell, the inventor of the MyPillow. And, of course, if you'd like to support all of my content, which is the podcast here with Kathy, my YouTube channel, the radio show, everything, go to MyPillow.com, and you can take advantage of all the specials there with my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. Also, on Mike Lindell's other website, the My Store website, you can take advantage of all the specials there with my promo code Kane as well, Kane. At MyPillow.com, you will do all your Christmas shopping there if you're smart, because not only will you get great Christmas items, and the thing about the Christmas gifts at MyPillow.com is this, okay? And I'll tell you this with my mother. We got my mother a few years ago, her first MyPillow product. It was a MyPillow. And what had happened, we got it for actually was after Christmas, now that I remember. My mother came over to stay with us on Christmas Eve to wake up Christmas morning. And when she stayed, she says, "Hey, can I sleep on one of those MyPillows you're always talking about?" So she slept on the MyPillow. She was kind of like, whatever. And she woke up the next morning. She says, "Wow, those things are amazing." So we got her one for Mother's Day. And out of every gift I've given my mother since I was a little kid, the only one that she still has and uses, and this has been a few years now, is that MyPillow. In fact, my mother flew to California with our daughter Emily today, and I went to my mother's house to pick her up to take her to the airport, and I was in my mother's bedroom getting her suitcases, and she had the MyPillows there that we got her for Mother's Day years ago because they last a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So when whatever gift you give from MyPillow.com, whether it's the slippers, the different styles of pillows, the Giza sheets, the towel sets, whatever you get, the bathrobes, everything Mike Lindell makes is high quality, does everything it says it'll do, and the people that you give the gift to will keep it, remember it for years to come, and tell everybody about that great gift.
They'll actually use them.
That's right. And it's a great deal. So go to MyPillow.com and use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, for your Christmas shopping and great savings. Now, about the Mighty Mega Lions, let's get back to that because we have some updates on the Lions.
Well, they came in last week, so we're in the process of sending out the first batches of orders. We're printing labels. So those should be shipped out this week sometime. We have to take everything. We have to box everything. We write a personal thank you in each one and wrap them up nice for you, put the label on. Then we have to take them to the post office. So I would say if you ordered one up till now, you should get it within the next 2 or 3 weeks because you do have to allow for shipping and handling and for us to box everything. This is a 2-man operation as far as the shipping goes. Brian and I are handling that. So you got to, give us a little bit of leeway on that. But as soon as they get shipped, it's all through the store. There's a shipping tracking, and you should get them, I'd say within a week because after they're shipped because everything's domestic.
Depending on where you live. Yeah,
everything's is in the continental United States.
So the mighty.
So 2 to 3 weeks, I'd say you should be getting.
The mighty MAGA Lions arrived a couple days ago, and man, there's a lot of them. And so what we're shipping out now are the pre-orders, and
right.
I didn't realize what was involved in this. I had no idea. There's a lot there. The process to not only it's really insane. We came up with a concept for the lion, and Kathy and I, of course, partnered up with Dee, who's in the chat. And she's one of the moderators and one of our Patreon supporters as well. And we partnered up with Dee, and I mean, we came up with the concept, designed it, had prototypes made, chose the design, approved to get them made, and then we get the online store. They get shipped to us.
Working on this since the beginning of the year,
and then and now we're at the shipping stage,
right.
And of course we're doing the shipping and handling ourselves, and we're basically spending the whole weekend doing this.
Yeah,
and
we don't mind. We're happy to do it, and we're really excited.
It's a bigger thing to do that I thought. I didn't realize what was involved in it.
Well, I did. It's no big deal.
I'm nuts.
I'm happy to do it, and we're really excited about everybody that's bought one, and we'll be shipping out quite a bit. We got a lot of orders, but they are limited. We only have a certain number, and I really would like to see people think about this. It's at mightymagaline.com for Christmas gifts because I'm telling you, they're really adorable. I showed my dad one the other day. He came to visit. He was like, "That is cute." He loved it, and they're really adorable. Yeah. And I'm telling you, if you buy one and put it under your Christmas tree, you can leave it in the box, or I think it'd be cute out of the box and just have it there, looking at everybody. It will be a huge, huge hit for people that love Trump. It is absolutely adorable. It's a cute lion, and he's got the MAGA hat and the cute little face. And it just sits up on the bookshelf. And if you have kids that love, it's really good for all ages. But you have kids that love Trump, you have to get them this, or grandchildren. They will love it. It's very well made. They could carry it around. I didn't want to do something too big. That I like Trumpy Bear, but it's big. You can't really carry Trumpy Bear around. It's like carrying around a toddler.
Yeah.
This is like 10 inches. It's small enough for you to carry around, take with you. The kids can take it with them places in the car, on trips. It's absolutely adorable. I just love it to death.
You guys will love it.
So check it out, mightymagaline.com. It's a limited edition. So once we sell out, that's it. I don't know if we'll be reordering these again. We're not sure yet, but right now it's limited. So if you want to get one, you need to order one because we have sold quite a bit already.
Yeah, so it's mightymagalion.com. All right, well, listen, we're out of time for today. We will be back next time. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next time.